that we were on the air, we didn't have the news coming out of Kansas City, but Andy Reid is going to shut down Patrick Mahomes, select other starters. We talked about this on Monday. You can't shut down the whole team.
No, you
got
can't.
a limited NFL roster on a game day, but you're not going to see the frontline players play. What did you make officially of that decision?
I thought it was smart for Andy Reid. It's like you guys just got done playing 3 games in 11 days. You need to get your star quarterback healthy. Patrick Mahomes has had a bum ankle for dang near a month and a half.
Yeah.
Get him healthy. Get rest for someone like Travis Kelce and Chris Jones. And because you guys' ultimate goal is to try to win another Super Bowl so you can three-peat. Do something that has never been done before.
Ever.
How do you do that? You have to be healthy. The healthiest team is going to go further in the playoffs. So I expected the Kansas City Chiefs to hold out as many players as possible. Now, for the Denver Broncos is don't buy into it. You go out there and you play your game. You go out there and you clinch the playoffs because you are not in the playoffs just yet.
No.
And if you're banking on, hey, we had a strong start of a season and things are going our way, and even if we lose, we still have a chance, don't put that in your mind. Go out there and handle business. If you're playing against the Bad News Bears, you go out there and put 70 on them, 100 on them. That's what you do with this team here. If they want to roll out, the Kansas City Chiefs want to roll out with their backups and their third stringers, then you need to show the world that you guys mean business and put it on them.
Yeah, I hope the mindset is right, and it should be. This should not be something you need to talk someone into or convince someone of. You win, and you're in.
Yeah.
And you also just need to win a football game. 10 days before Christmas was the last time the Broncos, and now it's a big football game, right, against the Indianapolis Colts. That's part of the reason why you're in this position to still control your own destiny. But Bo has not looked great. The defense has taken a step back. And, look, I think we're going to be thrilled regardless if the Broncos, quote-unquote, back their way into the playoffs.
How thrilled, though? Like, of course, like, they're in the playoffs, and I don't want to take that from the Denver Broncos. I don't want to be a spoiled fan. Like, we finally have a winning season,
right? And
we finally have a chance to go to the playoffs. But, man, momentum is a heck of a drug. When you can have some momentum going into a playoffs or the playoff game, and in this case, you're probably going to be playing Buffalo.
Yeah.
You want to have some momentum. You want to have some wins, some tough wins under your belt, and finish the year off strong so that you get in the playoffs and you can make some noise. Not just be there, but compete. Try to win the game.
Yeah. Well, will I still be thrilled? I'm going to say yes once I get removed from the moment of if they were, in fact, to lose to the Chiefs. But here's the other thing. Like, if you lose to the Chiefs' backups, you don't really deserve to be involved in meaningful playoff conversations anyway. Even if they, technically get into the playoffs, if you lose to a Chiefs team with no Mahomes, with no Travis Kelce, with no Chris Jones, with no Trent McDuffie, oh man, will I still be thrilled? I don't know. I'm actually toiling with it right now because that would be a terrible, terrible look with some sugar sprinkled on it. Oh, get me out of the situation, get me removed from the game. I'll probably still be thrilled, but it just won't feel right. It will not feel right if they wind up losing this football game.
Well, it's because you're going into the playoffs with a 3-game losing streak. That's not good for you. On top of that, if you lose to the Kansas City Chiefs, who are not playing a lot of their starters, it's like a slap in the face. It kind of like for people that are on the other argument, well, the Denver Broncos haven't beat winning teams. They only have beat one team with a winning record. Like, that's going to come up so much throughout the week because the Denver Broncos can't beat someone like the Kansas City Chiefs who are not playing any of their starters. Like, this is a must-win game. One, to clinch it and 100% be in the playoffs, but two, to let everybody know we're still here. I don't care if it's backups. Go out there and handle business how we know you can handle business and get ready for a playoff game. Not just getting to the dance, but being able to dance a little bit, trying to compete for that win. That's what I want to see.
Clinch and cleanse. Clinch the playoffs, but also cleanse some of the bad vibes around here in the last couple weeks. Beat the Chiefs. That's always fun, regardless of who's playing. Here is Sean Payton talking about the Chiefs resting their starters.
Like I said to the team this morning, our focus has got to be on this team in general. There'll be, I'm sure, some different people in different places. It's not like college, though. We don't have rosters of 105, 110. So when the season starts, they say, here's the schedule, go play. And a credit to Kansas City, Andy and his team, when you go 15-1, then you're afforded those decisions. And I've been in that position where your team might need a break here or there. They've earned that, and that's part of the deal. For us, it's about understanding what we're seeing scheme-wise and being ready to play our best game.
Is there any fear for you? And you hear Sean trying to caution his team, like, guys, this isn't college. You're going to see most of the Chiefs. Like the same collection of guys that went 15-1, you're going to see most of those guys. They're not going to have the face of the team there, but you can't. This is not a game where it's the Harlem Globetrotters and you're just showing up and you know they're going to win. This is not that. In fact,
it's not a preseason game either. Like all these players that are on the roster, Zach, they deserve to be on the roster. They're good football players. They're not just backups. This is not college.
A lot of them are Super Bowl champions.
A lot of them are Super Bowl champions, and a lot of them want to put their best foot forward because they may not be with the Kansas City Chiefs next year, and they have a chance to finally start in a game. Someone like Carson Wentz, where it's like, hey, I don't want anybody saying I can't be a starting quarterback if the chance comes my way. I want everybody saying, hey, I can be a starting quarterback. So how do you do it? Someone like Carson Wentz goes out there and eats, right?
Yeah.
Someone like Carson Wentz goes out there and puts his best foot forward and tries to beat a Denver Broncos team that's trying to get into the playoffs. That's what this is all about.
Yep, and this is what he did last year with the Rams.
He did.
He's gotten some really good football rehab here in the last 2 seasons under Sean McVay and now under Andy Reid. And they won that football game that he started last year in San Francisco against the Niners for the Rams, throwing a couple touchdown passes in that 1-point win. And in fact, of the 4 times that the Chiefs have rested starters with the division and the seeding locked up, they're 2-2. So it's like, again, not to I'm not painting a picture of fear, but it's just like one of these things. Proceed with caution. That's all. Make sure the mindset's right. Is there any question for you? Is there any question for you about the mindset or sense of urgency that won't be as high with the Broncos with the Kansas City decision to rest their starters?
There should be no question. The Denver Broncos need to have that laser-focused mentality of, hey, let's go out there and execute. One, you have a bunch of young players that are trying to find themselves in this league. None of these players have played enough football to be able to say, hey, like this is a game which we should win. No, it's go out there and perform. Someone like Cortland Sutton, you have not got to the playoffs yet in your career. This is your time to do it. And for someone like Cortland Sutton, you need 32 more yards to get to 1,000 yards receiving.
Yes, sir.
You need 82 more yards to get one of your incentives. So there's a lot to play for. There's a lot to play for some of these veterans, and there's a lot to play for some of these young players that are like, hey, you need to get these reps. Troy Franklin, can we finally have a connection between you and Bo Nix where it's like a beautiful pass for a touchdown? It's time for that to happen. Like, this is the time to do it. Showcase your talents, even if you have the second and third string players in there. They're NFL players trying to fight for their job. You're trying to fight for your job, and you're trying to fight for your opportunity to be in the playoffs. Don't put it in somebody else's hands. You lose a game, and now you need the Miami Dolphins to lose or the Cincinnati Bengals to lose. Don't do that to yourself. Finish off the right way. Start fast, finish strong, win the game so we can all be happy about it.
All right, here's a little bit more from Sean Payton talking about Carson Wentz.
Listen, he's in this league for a reason. He's big, strong. He was a first-round draft pick. We spoke during the offseason a little bit with him and his agents, and so it's the player, but it's also everything around it and understanding what they're trying to do.
How about that little nugget from Sean that he just dropped? That the Broncos were in communication with Carson Wentz this past offseason. Very interesting.
It really is, but it's not a hard thing to kind of think about. Carson Wentz is a really good backup quarterback and has played a lot of football. He's been in big-time games. He's had years where he's thrown for 4,000 yards. He's had multiple years where he's thrown for over 3,000 yards. He's been in playoff games. At one point with the Philadelphia Eagles, he was up for the MVP, ends up losing it, blows his knee out. But Carson Wentz is not a bad quarterback. He just isn't that elite quarterback that everybody wants as a starter. But if you're telling me, hey, you can have someone like Carson Wentz who has played a lot of football, who you can plug in and he can win you games, why would you not try to find that piece to help out with a young quarterback like Bo Nix?
Yeah, once upon a time, and you just referenced it, 4,000-yard pass passer, 27 touchdowns to 7 interceptions. He was looking like that dude.
And think about it. When he was with the Indianapolis Colts the year before I got there, that was the year that the Colts lost to the Jacksonville Jaguars, and they were one game away from the playoffs.
Yes.
Carson Wentz was the starting quarterback the whole entire year. Carson Wentz didn't have a bad year when he was with the Colts. He ended up with 7 interceptions and 27 touchdowns.
He did that twice.
Yeah.
You're right. I'm listening to you. I'm like, I think he just made a mistake. He's quoting the 2019 season where he was up for MVP. No, you're spot on. There was 2 seasons later in 2021, 27 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. Good on you. Yeah, this guy, he's thrown 153 career touchdowns. That's more than a little bit. He's played in 97 NFL games.
Yeah. And he wants this. He wants this. Like, why not go and beat the Denver Broncos? It's just going to keep him relevant for the next team. It's going to get him paid for the next team. And everybody wants to get paid a little bit of money. Look what Sam Darnold's doing. I'm hearing talks about how the Vikings may be shopping someone like J.J. McCarthy around because they want to keep Sam Darnold. Like, what are we talking about here? And so it's one of these things where if Carson Wentz can pull it off and look good doing it, he may get another opportunity somewhere else to be a starting quarterback, or at least he's a bridge quarterback until a young quarterback decides to show out.
Yeah. So there's a scenario, or there was a scenario coming into this calendar season that Carson Wentz could have been in Denver, according to Sean. And then it's like, because at the time where Wentz signed, the draft hadn't happened yet. So he signed in very early April. I think it was literally April Fool's, April 1st or April 2nd, which is about 3 weeks ahead of the draft.
Yeah.
But it sounded like Sean was preparing for a veteran backup in case they didn't wind up with Bo. So we could have had a scenario this summer where it was Carson Wentz against Jarrett Stidham in a quarterback competition to lead this group with probably Brock Bowers.
Oh, Brock Bowers.
A player like Brock Bowers.
That's a bad man.
Dude, he's
over 1,000 yards receiving rookie year. He
broke Mike Ditka's rookie tight end record that has stood for over 50, 60 years. It was back when we were trying to land on the moon during Kennedy and stuff. That was when the last time a tight end rookie had a season like Brock Bowers is currently having.
All right, so let me ask the question then, Zach.
Uh-oh.
Let me ask the question.
All right.
If we did not end up getting Bo Nix, we end up paying for someone like Carson Wentz.
Yep.
We get Brock Bowers. How do the Denver Broncos look this year? Are we still a playoff team? Do we not get in? Do we have more games won than we do right now? Like, what's going on?
That is a freaking great question, Phillip Lindsay. So, obviously, it's a hypothetical. Yeah. You'd have to forecast, and when you have the season that Bo has had and Broncos and drawing from substance, it's going to be hard to measure up what never was against what actually is right now. Okay, but that's a damn good question. If Carson Wentz, following a year of football rehab under Sean McVay, is now being coached by Sean Payton in Denver with a game-changing tight end like Brock Bowers, would they be in this position? My gut tells me it would be a very similar position.
Ooh, okay.
My gut tells me it would be a very similar position. I'm glad it's not, because Bo is representing something so early that
he's our future.
Has passed for Carson Wentz.
Yeah,
exactly.
He's our future.
That we're seeing Bo in a ceiling, and it's like, whoa, we didn't. And I know he struggled here in the last few games, but so it's not quite apples to apples, of course. But man, if you're actually asking me, which game, would, again, it's hypothetical, so we're kind of making it up, but which games would they would have gotten flipped that you would have, because the Broncos, despite having 9 wins, their resume on paper, they have only beaten those, it was 2 teams with a winning record. It was the Bucs and the Falcons at the time.
At the time.
Man, I think it's reasonable to say that they would be in a similar position.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they and hear me out, with Carson Wentz being a veteran and playing a lot of football and playing at an elite level at times, you guys have to remember Carson Wentz was in the running for an MVP. Carson Wentz helped that Philadelphia team get to the playoffs and then had to pass the torch to my boy
Nick Foles.
Nick Foles, who ended up beating Tom Brady. That's because Carson Wentz blows his knee out.
Yeah.
Now, Carson Wentz, because of the football he has played and all the football he has got to witness throughout his career, and even with the Colts, almost had the Colts in the playoffs.
I forgot about that, yeah.
Yeah, I think that you have a situation where you win the games, a couple games early, like the Seattle Seahawks game, you might end up winning just because of the veteran presence. The Pittsburgh Steelers game, you might end up winning just because of the veteran presence.
And those were both one-score losses.
Exactly. And someone like Carson Wentz has had opportunities to drive down the field in 2 minutes and win the game for him. It's just about being there in the veteran presence. I'm not saying Carson Wentz would win 12 or 11 games. It's a possibility of having that older quarterback that has been through the fire to help you win the games early when Bo was struggling, because he's a rookie.
Yeah.
Bo's going to go through some things where he's struggling. That's okay. We understood that.
And we have to remember, and I do a decent job of reminding our audience, the man was in a 3-way competition for most of the summer. And you do lose those first 2 games of the year by 1 score. And remember, he threw 4 interceptions in the first 2 games. So would that still have happened, to your point, and again, this is all hypothetical, that maybe one of those games gets flipped? Because Carson Wentz has played in 100 football games, 97. Now, again, to turn the coin over, we're thrilled we have Bo.
Yeah.
Right? Because he represents...
Give me the Bo. Let's Bo. Let's Bo.
Let's Bo. Let's Bo. Let's Bo. Let's Bo. He represents the future. And Carson Wentz... well, how old is old Carson Wentz here? He is, he's older than I thought. He's 32 years old.
32.
This year. Yeah. And hey, he's salvaging a backup role for his career. He has really transitioned. I don't know if he'll ever be a starter again in the NFL.
He's had his opportunities. I don't think he's going to be a starter again. He's had his opportunities, but he's a great backup. And whoever gets someone like Carson Wentz, and maybe he signs with the Chiefs again, like, it's a great backup to have. It's like a Joe Flacco,
right,
where you know that he can win you a couple games if your starting quarterback gets hurt. Now, we got our backup, who's Jarrett Stidham.
Yeah.
Steady. And you know, I was on the table, hey, we should probably start Stidham at the beginning of the year until Bo Nix is ready. You know, the development can kind of gradually get better. And you were like, no. You were like, let's just throw Bo into the fire, and it's worked. It's helping us out, and now we're in a situation, a scenario where we are going to the playoffs because of the defense and because we have a quarterback in Bo who's doing some great things. He's having those flashy moments. But Jarrett Stidham, tell me this. If we decide to draft Brock Bowers, phenomenal talent, beast mode.
Oh, my gosh. He is an animal.
And if we draft Brock Bowers, that means we're probably not drafting Bo Nix.
Correct.
And we decide to stick with someone like Jarrett Stidham. How does the record look now?
Oh, I love playing these games. I think a lot of Broncos country will disagree with me.
You better be careful now.
But I think that the Broncos would be in a similar situation.
Oh, Zach.
A similar situation. Would they be 9-7? I don't know. Maybe they're 8-8. With 1 game left in the season.
Don't you think that's a little disrespectful?
I'm not trying to be disrespectful to Bo, but the backbone of this defense throughout the year has been more defensively.
So you think Jarrett Stidham being in the driver's seat, we're still 8-8, maybe 9. Maybe we have won 9 games, maybe. Yeah, even with Jarrett Stidham?
I'm just saying similar, because I'm not going to say it with a hypothetical, say, hey, they'd have the exact record. But I think the games that they won, if you added an elite dude at the tight end position who has literally had the greatest rookie season of all time at the tight end position, with a Sean Payton-led group with the same defense, I actually think it would again, would it be exactly 9-7? I don't know. Might be 7-9. But I think it would be more similar than a lot of Broncos country would like to admit. Would you beat Atlanta 38-6? I don't know. Maybe
Zach, you're not beating Atlanta at all.
Oh, with Jarrett Stidham?
No, you're not.
Oh, you're turning your back on your guy.
I have to. I'm a snake. I was banging the table for Jarrett Stidham, but now that I've witnessed what Bo can do, and know that, like, okay, Jarrett Stidham is a solid backup. Carson Wentz is a way better backup than Jarrett Stidham.
Yeah.
Jarrett Stidham has only played in 18 games in his career.
I didn't even think it was that much.
I think it's 18
Is it? Okay.
all together with the Patriots and
So
then the Raiders.
like appearing in a game at any point. Okay.
Yeah. Only 18 games in his career. Jarrett Stidham is very conservative. That's why I say he's a really good backup because he can help kind of stay on track. He's not going to make a crazy play for you, but he's going to stay on track. He's going to be conservative and let the defense do their thing. But at some point, you have to be able to open up. That's something that Bo Nix is doing a better job of. All right, recently against the Bengals, Cincinnati Bengals, when Bo Nix had a beautiful throw to Marvin Mims.
Yeah, Jarrett Stidham's not doing that.
Jarrett Stidham's not doing that.
No.
And you're not put in a situation to win if you're not able to open up at times. I think with Jarrett Stidham as the Denver Broncos quarterback, you win 6, maybe 7. But and I'm going towards 6 games with Jarrett Stidham because he's too conservative.
You may be right about that.
Way too conservative.
There's no way of knowing. Again, you're adding Bowers to the situation.
But he also, I didn't like what Stidham was doing during camp with the fake confidence.
Yeah, that was that was a turn off.
That wears off.
Yeah, that was a turn off.
That wears off, and you start to see through that, right through that when you're not winning games.
Yeah.
Bo Nix kind of stays steady, quiet. He has that quiet confidence. Now it's showing a little bit more. He's showing more emotion. I love where Bo is. If Jarrett Stidham was the starting quarterback right now, we would only win 6 games.
Well, you may be right about that, Phil. There's no way of knowing. And I'll add this, too, on behalf of Bowers. He's doing that as a rookie with catching passes from 3 different quarterbacks.
It's pretty amazing.
That is incredible. Gardner Minshew, Aiden